This is day 53 of Operation Allied Force, and so far there's no clear way out of this conflict. And joining us now with some thoughts on all of this and the NATO air campaign, both from the American Albanian Civic League, we have former U.S. Representative Joseph DioGuardi, along with Balkan advisor Shirley Cloyes. Nice to have you both. Thank you very much for joining us.
Nice to be here, Uma.
Let's talk for a moment about what's at play right now. We are into day 53. Many people say there is really no clear exit strategy at play here, and yet we continue to see thousands of refugees fleeing to the borders, many more coming over to other countries. How do we best resolve this at this point, simply with the air campaign at play, with no guarantee that ground troops are going to be introduced?
Well, again, it depends on what our objectives are. If our objectives are to help save the Albanian people, and we know there are at least 700,000 inside Kosovo that may be starving as we speak, then we have to commit the ground troops to get them in there to find out what's going on. The accident that we saw happen happened because it's a deliberate attempt by Slobodan Milosevic now, whose back is against the wall, to put his dug-in tanks and missiles in and around civilian populations, so that when we go after those tanks that are dug in, we're bound to kill civilians. Unless we get the planes lower, and I don't know what altitude that bomb was dropped, but unless we get those warthogs in there the way they're supposed to be, within maybe a couple of thousand feet, not 15, and until we get the troops in, and until we end this, you're going to see many more accidents like this.
Well, right now there's no commitment at this point or public appetite for ground troops at this juncture, and in fact the efforts are heating up to find a diplomatic way out. Do you believe that that's realistic at this point?
I'm not sure that there's no public support. I think the problem has been political confusion in the Clinton administration and in our Congress about what our objectives are here in terms of, are we going to get rid of Mr. Milosevic at this point, who is a genocidal war criminal who's been marching across southern Europe since 1991, or are we wanting to meet him at a negotiating table at the end?
But public opinion polls show that right now, Americans, at least at this point, are not in favor of a ground war if there are efforts underway to find a diplomatic way out of this.
But this is my whole point. If Milosevic is at the negotiating table at the end of this process, which some of our members of our House and Senate envision, we are going to be in enormous trouble. This war will go on for years. So if that's not our intent, if we really want to resolve this conflict, then we're going to have to take other measures immediately. And to avoid the problem of ground troops right now, one of the things we could do is arm the Kosovo Liberation Army, which is actively working with NATO now, is cooperating. And they could do a lot of what has to happen on the ground, including saving the lives of the 700,000 Kosovars that Joe has mentioned that are trapped inside.
But a lot of those people are looking for support from the United States Congress to support funding efforts to arm those guys.
Absolutely. And you can't fixate on the polls, Uma, because those polls change every day, and we know what's happened in the last few weeks. You had the accident with the Chinese embassy. You had other accidents with civilian populations, and when those are put on the TV screens and you don't see the pictures of Slobodan Milosevic's army going into the households, raping, torturing, ethically cleansing. We're in Washington this week. Here's the report from our State Department. A litany of horrors against the Albanian people, but you don't see this on the screens because we don't have access there. The only solution for the Albanian people, and we're going to distribute tens of thousands of these little bumper stickers, is independence, because independence will bring long-term peace and stability to the Balkans.
But right now you have no commitment from this president or from any other political leader at this point to support an independent Kosovo.
Well, because they see that politically, right now, they've got to get some other things out of the way. But don't forget how Rambouillet ended. To get the KLA to sign the papers, they had to agree to a 3-year period and then a referendum. That referendum is a signal that the Albanians will be allowed to vote their independence and self-determination.
Certainly there are questions right now, Shirley, about the fact that even if there is a peace deal worked out and the Kosovars are returned to Kosovo, will they really want to go back to a province that's going to be controlled by the Serbs still?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
As they
not.
always say, how can you possibly have autonomy under conditions of genocide? How can the Kosovar Albanians possibly go back to a, quote, province that is controlled militarily and economically by Serbia? It's utterly impossible. And meanwhile, Slobodan Milosevic is also destroying his own population in the process. The mayor of Niš, interestingly, a Serb, today said, you can't allow an idea to destroy an entire population. What he misses, and what I believe our government misses, is that Slobodan Milosevic is willing to take out his entire population.
But what about those who
all
say
about
he's
power.
already won? He's already won this campaign because he's driven most of the refugees out of Kosovo, and so therefore it doesn't matter if he comes to the table or not because he's achieved his aim.
No, he hasn't. That's what he wants you to believe and us to believe, that he's won. He has not won. He's in a bunker right now, as Hitler was at the end of the war. This could end immediately if we showed the resolve that we should have shown, by the way, years ago. We made so many foreign policy blunders under Baker and Bush, and now under President Clinton and Madeleine Albright and Holbrooke. We have to arm the Kosovo Liberation Army. We did it to the Croatians in the Bosnian War 2 years too late after we lost 250,000, and we have to commit the ground troops. We can win this, and we have to win it. We cannot allow Mr. Milosevic to win 1% of this for what he's done.
We appreciate your insights, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.